Hey everyone, Tony Winston here for Jazz Piano College, and welcome back to my channel. This is a video about triads. It's not just a beginner video, so there's some interesting ideas that I'm going to present later on in the video. So I'm going to start with the four basic triads, the major, the minor, the diminished, and the augmented. I will talk later on about some of the other triads that I don't consider to really be triads. Then I'm going to give you some ear training with the help of my teaching assistant here, Benny. And we'll do some major and minors. And so let's get right into it. First, a brief description on each type of triad, the four basic triads, and we'll use the key of C. You have to go 4 half steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, and have a major third. Then you go another 3 half steps, and you have a perfect fifth. Now, fifths are easy to find. They're the same color, mostly, until you get to B flat and B. So those are the two to be careful about, B flat and B, for a perfect fifth. Now the middle note is the one that you have to think about to make either a major or minor chord. So like I said, if you go up 1, 2, 3, 4 half steps, and then it's 3 more half steps to get there, you have a major triad. If you only go up 3 half steps and then 4 to get to the perfect 5, you have a minor triad. Now, these notes can be arranged many different ways. Here they're called root position. If you move the root to the top, it's still C major chord. We say it's in first inversion. If you again move this note to the top, you have second inversion, and if you were to do it again, you would be back on root position. This can be done with any chord, C minor, and you can arrange them really any way, like this. You see, I have the E way down here now. You can spread them out however you like. Some ways will sound better than others. And also, you can double the notes. So there I have 2 of every note except for C, which I have 3 of those, and it's all still C major. Before we get into diminished and augmented, we're going to do a little bit of ear training, and it's pretty easy to tell the difference between a major and a minor chord if I just play one and then the other, major and minor. However, in a song that's in a major key, you'll often, in fact almost always, have at least a couple of minor chords. So let's take Heart and Soul. There was one minor triad in there, A minor, because you see, 1, 2, 3 half steps, that's a minor third with the perfect fifth. So that's a minor triad. F and G were major. Also in a minor song, here I had a minor chord, a major chord, another minor, and a major. And all of those were in root position. Now it's nice to be able to hear a chord and know whether it's major or minor. So here we're going to get Benny to help. I'll play some major and minor triads, all in root position, and you listen and tell me if it's major or minor, and Benny will confirm if you are correct or not. I'll make it pretty easy at first. Major, 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 minor, 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 major, major, major. Now I'm going to do some triads that will be inverted. Some of them will be inverted. And once again, tell me if you think it's major or minor. Major, major, minor, minor, major, 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 minor, major, 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 minor. Great. Now I'm going to try to mislead you as much as I possibly can with major and minor chords. I'm going to put, sometimes the root will be in the bass, sometimes it will be the third or the fifth. Now, just a little bit more about major and minor chords before we go on to diminished and augmented. When you're playing what we call scale tone chords or diatonic triads, like say in the key of C, so we can build triads on every note of the scale. We have a major, a minor, a minor, a major, minor, diminished, which we'll get to, and major. And if you stay in the key of C and just go to any of those chords, it can be a little hard to tell which ones are major and minor because they all sound like they fit. Same in a minor key. So there, you know, two of the chords were minor and one was major. Minor, minor, major, and minor. But when you change from a major chord to a minor chord on the same root, you will really notice it. And you can hear this in like Beethoven's sonata where he's going B minor, B major. So that's a good example. And some other really great examples of going from major to minor right on the same chord, like from B major to B minor, would be the song Penny Lane by the Beatles, and also the song I'm Still Standing by Elton John. You just fade away, don't you know I'm still standing. Now, if you want to practice these around the cycle of fifths, which is not something I'm going to explain in this video, but there's plenty of videos out there. I have some that explain this. Look at the middle note of your major triad. Simply go up a half a step to F, and that's your next chord in the cycle of fifths. Okay, next one would be B flat. And you know, we don't have to go up to B flat. We could come down to B flat. And looking at the middle note, there's E flat. We'll come up here. All right, and you know, if you want ear training, listen to the chord. If you play this by accident, well, it doesn't sound like a major chord. It sounds like a minor chord. Looking up again to A flat. Looking up to D flat, but I'm going to go down here and play this D flat. Okay. Then looking up, F sharp, B, E. And notice that the next three will have the same shape of two white keys with a black key in the middle. A, D, and now G, which takes us back to C. Diminished chords. You build them only with minor thirds. So that far, 3 half steps, 1, 2, 3, and you can add another 1, 2, 3, and get a diminished seventh. But they all function pretty much the same way. And you can tell by the chord. It wants to go somewhere. It's not at rest. It has a lot of tension. So where could this chord go? It could go so many places. It's a more advanced video to describe all of these, but let me just show you a few places you could go. You could slide right back to C like that. You could go that way and get to a G chord. You could go to a G minor chord. You could go to a B flat minor, and I realize that these bass notes are kind of turning these chords into dominant chords for you more advanced people, but it is a diminished chord that could move very easily to B flat minor. Could move to C sharp minor. Could move to C sharp major. Lots of different places it could go, and just a quick glimpse at some of the ways that jazz musicians use the diminished chord. If you take an A flat dominant 7th chord, there's an A flat major triad plus the flat 7. You see the top half of it is a diminished chord, and jazz musicians like to use a dominant chord with a flat 9, all right? If you don't understand it, it's okay, but there's the diminished chord. And from this diminished chord, they come up with nice scales, good melodies, and some interesting chord progressions. A few of them would be like this, where you're going up the C major scale with chords. C major, a diminished chord. C major, a diminished chord. That was a diminished chord right there in the middle. And sometimes you'll hear really wild stuff like. And if you're more interested in diminished chords and the diminished scale, I have some great videos about that. Look in my playlists and you can find it. The augmented chord is probably the least common of the 4 triads. And it is simply this. You take a major chord and raise the 5 like that. So some places that you hear this is in this progression. Something like that. You also hear it in these minor progressions like Stairway to Heaven. So right there, A minor. If you lower the bottom note, you get an augmented chord also, right? It doesn't have to be a major chord that goes up. You know, if you have a minor chord and you go down here, you'll have, and it's 2 major thirds. So 4 half steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And it has an otherworldly sound sometimes, especially if you fill in whole steps. Like this. It really has a kind of a mystical sound, and it's like kind of like we're lost somewhere. We don't know where we are. We would like to resolve somewhere. And that was called the whole tone scale, by the way. So if you use whole tones, just skip every other one, you get the augmented chord, and there you go. One other place that you hear it is as a turnaround chord in the blues. Oh, darling, from the Beatles. Oh, darling. Augmented chord starts that off. If you would like to see this one, I'll have to do a blues in F. C augmented. And sometimes it'll have the 7th in as well. All right, let's do some more advanced ear training. This guy's going to help you. It's augmented, you dummy. We just covered this one. Diminished. Come on, get with it. All right. Anyway, you know, a little bit of ear training, I suppose, on these kind of triads would be nice. I'll play some major chords and some augmented chords, and it'll be easy to pick out the augmented one. That last one right there. Okay, I'll play some minor chords and then a diminished chord someplace in there. That's the one. There's the minor, there's the diminished. Sounds like something, doesn't it? All right, let me talk a little bit about the triads that I don't consider to be triads. Let me first say I love Rick Beato's channel. I know he talks about the Lydian triad, suspended triads, and all of those. And let me cover the suspended triad first, okay? And we will get a little bit more advanced here. And you will see this chord symbol, so it is worthwhile knowing. I just don't consider it a triad because it is a suspension of this triad. The third has been raised to the fourth, and it wants to resolve back. So we call this in classical music a suspension, and jazz players also call it, and rock players call it a suspended chord or a suspended fourth. And many times there will be a flat seven there, making it kind of into a dominant chord. Okay, so it's a suspension of a triad that we already know. Same with the add 2 or the C2 chord, and sometimes you will actually see a chord symbol that might say C2, and that's what they mean. It's a chord without the third, and it's got the second in it. Now in classical harmony, that 2 note is usually resolved down to the root. However, it resolves nicely up to the third as well, and you hear this in country riffs all the time. And it works in jazz too, you just have to put it in the right place. Okay, the Lydian triad. I know Rick likes this one, and I love his channel, by the way. It doesn't mean I agree with everything he says according to music theory, but it is a terrific channel. That's why he's got 2 million subscribers. But this is really not a triad, in my opinion, because what function does it have? I mean, it functions as this chord, as a 1 chord, and if you build a complex chord, C major 9, C major 9 with a sharp 11, which is the note that characterizes the Lydian scale. You see, it's simply an extension of the C major chord, and here we're just playing it without any of the other supporting notes. So it functions pretty much as a, maybe a super suspended chord. It kind of wants to resolve back to the major chord. But, if you're going to call that a triad, how come you don't have a name for this one, Rick? Maybe he does, actually, if you order his 600-page tutorial. But I don't know what you would call that. It's a useful sound, and I suppose if you're really doing advanced ear training and you want to try to tell the difference between that and that, go for it. I could name this one. What can I name this one? A C Phrygian. How about that? Because it kind of sounds like a Phrygian. And of course, it works well like that too. Maybe this one would sound good like that. It can function probably lots of different ways. It could function back that way. It could function that way too. So depending on how you're using it, I think is what you want to call it. And really, I just don't think those chords really have names that are useful at this point. Now, I was kind of getting into this as well, that you can not just have the second there and then go to the third or whatever, but you could have them both in there. And the same with the suspended fourth. It's kind of a rich sound. You could do all 5 like that. Same with the minor. Sounds pretty good. Even the Lydian. You could fill in all the notes there. See, that is really that chord. Well, I can't think of anything else. I've done this video 3 times now, so if I think of anything maybe I left out, I'll grab it from one of my previous takes. But thank you so much for subscribing to my channel, and your contributions are greatly appreciated. You can do it through PayPal or be a subscriber on Patreon for as little as $1 a month. You decide what you pay over there, and you can stop at any time. Very easy to do. And just thanks a lot, everyone, and I'll see you again soon. with a video about the modes. Yes, the modes. The infamous modes.